one of the nights that I remember so vividly, it's etched into my mind until the day that I die. But that night was when I was driving home from a late night shift. I was working in the kitchens. This is when I was still a chef by vocation. And I remember clutching the steering wheel, staring at that road in front of me, thinking to myself, this is not for me. And as soon as I made that realization, I just remember thinking, not again, because this was the theme throughout my life. I always struggled throughout high school to sort of find my footing. I was interested in all the subjects, not just some of them. And in high school, you obviously get herded into certain lanes that you need to follow. And it's just the system, you have to adhere to it. But if you had chosen something and it didn't really sit well with you, you were stuck with it for the entire year and you just had to slog through. And I always remember my mother shouting at me over and over again about how I'm wasting my potential and how I'm not doing anything. But the problem was that I was just bored. And that theme carried on throughout my life. When I went to university, I started studying information technology. It was an interest of mine. I was good at it and I started studying it. I lasted all of 6 months before I got bored and then I dropped out of it. I then started studying an investment management degree and the same thing happened. 6 months into it, I got bored and I dropped out of it at the end of the year. After that, it happened to be chef school, and that was like a complete about face from university studies to vocational training. And that one, for some reason, I happened to stick through. I think because there was enough variety in it that it piqued my interest, but the theme carried through because once I had qualified and I went out working, I lasted all of 6 months, yet again. After that, it was real estate and the same thing happened. I started, it was full steam ahead, 6 months into it, and I just stopped. And that theme kept presenting itself, and people would then start pointing fingers and say, well, helpfully maybe, and say, oh, maybe you've got ADHD. Or why do you have such commitment issues? Why can't you just stick things out? Your brother and sister stick things out. Why don't you? Why don't you just commit to something and make a go of it? And while some of it was trying to be helpful, a lot of it was misguided. And the reason is because when you're tried to, or you are forced into a box that you're not designed for, you struggle to cope mentally because you're trying to make sense of this way that your brain works and you can't actually make sense of it because you aren't interested in just one linear line of thinking. You have got multiple varied interests and it is a data collection process that you're going through. So the way that I sort of now looking back can see how it happened is that there were pieces of all of these things that I was picking up, and the one part where I eventually got to something that I stuck with was running my own business. And the reason why it stuck for as long as it has is because it is varied enough to keep me engaged. So there's lots of day-to-day mundane things, but there's a lot of variety, problems that are brought on, new things that you can pursue. So there's always something to pique your interest. And if you're in a situation like this, what you need to understand is that you might not have the same opportunity maybe to run your own business or do something as sort of, off the cuff as what I have, but you might be in a vocation or a job where you have to go down a certain path, but what you can do in that instance is to just do other things outside of it that pique your interest. So you can, if you're doing administration and it's such a boring, tedious thing and you have to do it day in and day out, and it's not something that your brain aligns with, then what you can do is to start taking on maybe parallel tasks of other people's work, ask if you can assist, something that is different, that then moves your mind from the track that it's on onto a new track, and then that will create that change in environment that you need for your brain to be happy with itself, that it's seeing all these different other things. And that is a way that you can calibrate your compass with the path that you're on currently, because if you're on a linear job track and you need to get variety in, then you can test the different parts of the business that you're in or the job that you're in and start seeing which way it leads. Because the one thing with a mind like that is that you're not static, you can't be static, and you don't want to be static. So that is the principle that I applied throughout life, is that you bring in something new from outside and you keep adding these data points, because the more data points that you've got, the more direct the direction that you can follow, if that makes sense. So I hope that helps with the struggle that you're in, because it was a struggle for me to get to the point that I am now. But once you start piecing together all of these small pieces, then you're going to see how much easier your life becomes when you start working with your brain and not against it.